All right, hi folks. Welcome to another What's New in Launchpad for December. We'll be going through a few topics today of new features in Launchpad that'll be of interest to everybody. And then we will take some questions from there and talk about some of our next events that are upcoming. We have two topics today. So we have improvements for Blueprint with Launchpad and using AI Blueprint to design and prototype your apps and then bring those features into Launchpad. And we'll also be introducing the new AI generated descriptions and comments in rules that make it easier to understand what's going on and share your changes with your fellow developers. All right, so I'm Tim Miranda. I'm part of the Launchpad Provider Success team here at Pega, and I'm joined by my co-host Frank Apap. We have two speakers today that are going to go over some of these new features. And we have Pratanka from Product Management and Anirbam also from Product Management. And they're going to be showing off some of this new stuff. So I'm going to start with Pratanka. We're going to be looking at some of the enhancements to AI Blueprint with Launchpad and some new options for designing and prototyping your apps that can be brought directly into Launchpad. Pratanka, why don't you show us what we got?
Hey Tim, really glad to show up what we have. So what we have now done is basically we have removed the need to download a Blueprint file and upload that while creating an application. So we have a direct integration from the Launchpad system into Blueprint. And as you see, while you are trying to create an application, you'll be presented with a dropdown, which will show you the list of blueprints that you have on your dashboard. You can decide which one you want to build an application from. And once you select, you basically have an option to look at your case types, your data types, your personas, and you can select to include or exclude them and then go ahead and build the application. So once you build the application, you get into the studio and then you have the studio available with you and you can directly preview or go ahead and build more rule types.
Yeah, this is great. I like this because really every Launchpad app needs to start with a blueprint. And by
Right.
being able to just directly select the blueprints that you've already been building, when you start to create a new app in Launchpad, really connects those experiences together. I also like that you can kind of choose to get the sample data brought in or not. But this really just kind of emphasizes that starting with your AI blueprint, you get what you need out of the case types and data types here, and everything kind of just rolls right into your Launchpad app. Okay, cool. So yeah, it does show you all your different blueprints here.
Right.
Um, so this is the way to create an app in Launchpad now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We encourage everyone to go ahead and build their blueprint, try a few ones, see, how AI is helping them, try out different prompts, try out different logic in terms of how they want to write up their case types and see how AI helps generate some of those case types, the steps and stages and so on and so forth. And then, once you have a good idea of how your blueprint looks like and you're happy with how it looks like, go ahead, build your application using your blueprint. It's all integrated together now.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, so I know there's a few other enhancements also with Blueprint, so let's take a look at those as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All
So,
right, go ahead.
yes. So, yeah, all right. Yeah. So, basically, we start with the blueprint, but let's also see, what kind of improvements we have done to the, workflow modeling. And I will talk about more use cases later, but let's start about multiple processes. So now we have the ability to get into a blueprint and structure your case type in a manner where on any particular stage, if you have a lot of set of steps, you can look to group them together by individual processes. These processes might be together accomplishing one individual task, and then you can have them set it up in a manner that it's more readable, it's more maintainable, it's easy to understand for the provider developer as to what he's doing as part of that particular stage. And then again, like you said, you go ahead, import that, and all of this translates into your application, and you get to see that in your case type in the studio itself. So this is again another new feature that we have incorporated. Going forward, this is available for use. You can go ahead and build this right from launchpad.io.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. So yeah, I like that because instead of having the stage with one, like a long process with a lot of
Right.
steps, you can sort of logically group them together. Does this also let me kind of, when I'm in studio, conditionally choose which process to run based on some decision?
Oh, absolutely. So basically, what happens is some of your processes might be dependent on certain business logic that you have in the case, right?
Mm,
And depending on how that business logic is set up based on a user input or a calculated field, you might want to decide which process to run. And then together, once you decide that you want to run a particular process, then all the steps within that process runs exclusively. And you might want to choose out and filter out what other ones do not run, and so on and so forth from there.
cool. Yeah, and I think this also, like, once I'm in studio, it gives me some options around reuse too. If I have an existing process I may want to add to a stage, this looks like it will make it pretty easy to just, have additional processes run as part of that stage. So,
Exactly.
cool. All right, cool. So I know there's some other things going on here for Blueprint. So let's talk about the data model and some of the enhancements for defining the data model in Blueprint.
Absolutely. These enhancements that we have done to the workflow has, benefits. But like you said, the data model is something which is also getting a lot of love. We have introduced something called embedded data. This is a very new feature. What it does is it lets you create a data object which is exclusive to your case type and can be maintained as part of that case type itself. You can go ahead and create that from Blueprint. You can go ahead and decide if you want to reference a data type from within that case type, from within that embedded data as well. And then you can create that within the Blueprint. And like I said, as you import that Blueprint into your application, all of that gets created automatically and gets available to you in the studio itself. So you get an embedded data object, which you can set up, or like you have set up in the Blueprint, you can, utilize that, or even you can add functionality to that going forward in the studio.
Cool. Yeah, I like that, especially as you're evolving your blueprint and figuring out your data model. You may start out with a simple model that got generated when you started the blueprint, but it looks like as you realize that you have some embedded or nested structures in your case model, that you can even define those kind of on the fly as you were showing. So you can say, oh, I need a list of items here. Let me define that new data type right here within my case model instead of having to switch to some other part of the blueprint. So kind of
Absolutely.
that evolving your app in line as you're building it and being able to do that both in Blueprint and Studio, I think is pretty powerful. So um, cool. Are there let's see. Yeah, I like this. So are there kind of other things related to embedded data that will be coming as well that we can talk about?
Yeah, I can probably, elaborate this with a simple use case so that we kind of, have the idea more elaborately talked about.
Mhm.
So, think about order management system where you might have an order management case type where you're managing your orders. And then maybe you have a data type which lists all of the menu items that are available for order, right? Now you might want to create as part of your order flow reference to a menu item and decide how many items of that particular menu you want to order,
Mm.
right? In such a situation, what we do essentially is basically we ask our users to be able to create an embedded object there, maybe order item embedded object that references a menu item, but lets you add a particular property that captures the number of such items you want to order. It might also have, say, a field that captures a subtotal, and then you are able to go ahead and capture that data as part of the case itself. So your order contains which menu items you want to order, how many of those you want to order, what are the subtotals of them, and so on and so forth. So again, like since you mentioned, what capabilities we have here, you can have single objects added or multiple objects added as part of your order item as well. So that's largely the use case that we are trying to cater over here. I'm happy to showcase it off.
Cool. So now in the blueprint, I can have my scalar fields. I can also have my references to other data
Right.
objects, whether they're local or external, but I can also embed data directly in the case and define that in my blueprint model so that when I import all that stuff is set up for me. That's
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly.
All right. Cool. And then I think you also wanted to highlight another data model enhancement that's coming around attachments. So why don't we take a look at that as well?
Exactly. So this is again a new feature. So now while you're creating a blueprint, as you create your data model, you have the ability to select different kinds of property, right? An integer, a text, and so on and so forth. Additionally, what you now have is also the ability to set up attachment as fields, right? So what you can do is you can configure a field, set its type as an attachment, and it gets configured as part of your data model. And then what happens is this entire structure gets replicated into your application when you import the blueprint into your studio. And now what that means is right from the word go, you have the ability to attach items to your case type, case type data model. And then again, think of it in a manner that it's not just a way to attach something to the case. This is again has its own isolation, it has its own on individual application where you have this capability, and then it's not available for to be seen elsewhere, to be as used elsewhere. It's encapsulated within part of your data model as part of that case type where you define this. So very powerful. Once you import, once you preview, you right away have the ability to attach items to your case types.
Okay, cool. I do want to mention that if anyone, the Q&A is open, so if anyone has any questions right now, you can type them in. We will answer them at the end. So yeah, so one question I had here was, so with the attachment part of the data model here, does that mean that I can apply like security policies and things like that for attachment access as well?
Yes.
Because that means right from the start of the blueprint, I can really sort of make sure that attachments are being handled within the model and I can apply protections as I go into Studio, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the best ways, best things to happen, that you have it as part of your data model itself, and all of the security policies apply directly on top of that without having to do anything else outside.
Cool. All right. And then just in terms of what might be coming with the data model and Launchpad, do we have other things we can call out that are coming up in the future around just sort of data model enhancements and capabilities from Blueprint to Launchpad?
Yes, we will be very soon supporting pick list, which
Okay.
is a way of saying that I have a field of a specific type, and then I want to have a set of example items that I want to configure as part of that field. So anybody who is previewing the application gets a prompt of such items to be able to choose from in that drop down if necessary, right? So that's something that's coming pretty soon. We also will be having user reference as a field available to be configured as part of your data model,
Mhm.
so that if you need to, within your application, you're able to refer to a user and capture that reference within the part of within your data model itself. So these are two new things that's coming up. There are a few other things that we are doing as part of workflow management and as part of additional rules generation.
Mm.
Since you asked what new things are coming up,
Sure,
maybe I'll just touch upon them as well.
please.
So yeah, we will very soon have the ability to route your assignments.
Hmm.
So what you can do is basically you can define an assignment and you can say route this to this persona, so that anybody from that persona is able to access that assignment and work upon that. Similarly, you can also say for the current user's manager, route this to the manager, whoever has created, route it to the manager of that particular persona or particular user, and that also is taken care of seamlessly. So all of these can be configured in the blueprint, and as you import this into the studio, this is automatically configured from here. You don't need to do anything else to be able to route such assignments at all.
Cool. Yeah, I
Talk,
love that because
yeah,
the more I can do in Blueprint and kind of share with my stakeholders and say, yeah, this is how we need the first version of our app to work. Once I pull that into Studio, having that stuff already built and generated for me kind of lets me hit the ground running, so I can really kind of finish off the rest of the app and then get it into production and get it tried out. So, yeah, this looks like this will really help accelerate a lot of aspects of the development here, which is really awesome.
absolutely, absolutely.
All
I was,
right.
I was, I was talking about, additional rule generations,
Mhm.
maybe I'll just, touch
Yeah,
upon that
please.
as well while we are on the subject. So a very new capability coming up, you'll be hearing about that very soon. We are looking forward to generating the integration rules. If you happen to define a data object based on OpenAPI spec from somewhere, and you want to generate the data model, what happens is that when you take that blueprint into the studio and build your application, we will automatically generate all of the integration rules for you. Your integration system, your connectors, your HTTP connectors, your all of the other integration rules will get generated automatically so that no additional work is required from your perspective to create additional rules to connect to those data model outside. So yeah, that's another cool new thing coming up.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well. All right. Thanks, Pratanka. I think now I will introduce Anirban.
So
Oh, do we have
so
one more?
Tim, sorry to interrupt. I think we have one more item that we wanted to
Oh,
talk
I missed
about.
so many changes in Blueprint.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, it's
yes,
pretty exciting.
notifications. Let's take a look at notifications. Thank you.
A lot of new things are coming up.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very excited to talk about this
Yeah.
as well. It's a cool new feature that we have come up with. As you define your blueprint now, and as you have steps where you want to notify your users of something happening, which is of significance. For our example, you might want to send an order confirmation, or you might want to send out a message saying that your order is ready to be picked up or delivered. You can actually configure notifications within your case type. And what happens is based on the context of where you create your notification step, the blueprint automatically generates some content for you, taking into account your case type and your context within which the notification rule is generated. Now, what happens is when you take this blueprint and import that into the application, or import that into the studio and create your application, what we do for you is basically we create a correspondence rule, which can be used for email communications, where you'll see that your subject line is automatically generated. Whatever automatically generated text you had as part of the notification is copied over as part of the message, and you are all ready to go. So the moment you run that case type and you hit that notification step, your mail is ready to be sent.
Cool. So it doesn't generate just a placeholder. It's actually a step that's now got a notification rule that's also been created for me on import. And so
Hello.
really all I'd have to do is just sort of configure my email provider, and then this is good to go.
Exactly. All it needs is the email provider, and it's good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those features in general with notifications that I think we sort of forget about sometimes, but the fact that it's built into the workflow, built into the platform, that within your process, you can just add a step to send out a notification, include business data in it, send it dynamically to different people, include attachments, just with one step, and then setting up a couple rules, makes things so much easier. I don't have to think about integrations and talking to different email services, and it's all kind of abstracted with the rule base here. So yeah, I love that now I can kind of show exactly what's going to be sent within the blueprint. So when I'm live previewing my blueprint, I'm showing it to stakeholders. They can see where we're going to have some automated steps to send notifications right there before we even dive into Studio. That's really cool.
Exactly. Yep.
Cool.
We are very excited to introduce these new features. I'm looking forward to usage from our providers.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think that's it for Blueprint, which is a lot. So thank you, Pratanka. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now let's switch over to Anirban from AppLogic Product Management. We're going to kind of go over some of the new AI assistant technologies for developers that I'm looking forward to learning more about.
Yeah, thanks team. Thanks everybody for joining in. So we are very excited about explaining these features where we have like this the automation is the place where you write your business logic. So like think about like you are designing your workflow. So you based on the workflow status, based on like looping through your items or like doing some if else logic, the place to do those in Launchpad is called automation. And you can imagine like because of that, it's like heavily used in building your workflows, and it can become slightly complex as you add more and more logic, difficult to maintain. And maybe your teammate has authored something and the other person comes in, your fellow developer, and they need to like update the logic, because uh, that always happens, like you go from one version to other. So all of these can be handled easily written right now. We have introduced two features. One is like generating the description, which is on the rule header, or the just below this process issue emails. You can see in
Mhm.
this sample app that you have Civic Sync, where we are generating the description, which explains overall what this automation or what this business logic does for your workflow, considering the case type or data type this is working on or operating on. So that's the first feature that we introduced, which will help you to understand overall like what it is doing, but that may or may not be enough. So you want to dive slightly deeper to understand what each of these building blocks or the logical blocks are doing, like the loops, the if else, the conditions. So you can come and click this generate comments button, which will give you the like a pseudocode way of explaining what each of these are doing, so that it is easier for you to edit, debug, maintain very clearly. You can do it by going through the comments also. Like there are a couple of ways to do that. You can either do it for globally using that outside button,
Mhm.
everything auto-generated, save it, use it, or if you like, you could regenerate for one of the specific steps also. So yeah, that's the kind of functionality that we have brought in right now, so that like yeah, it's easier for all of us to get help and build apps faster.
Yeah, I really like this. I was working the other day with a provider, and we had built out a pretty complex automation to do some, external integrations and some data transforms and things like that. Being able to actually just click generate comments and a few seconds later have it all kind of explained step by step in plain English made it a lot easier. He was able to then go, and make some changes to it very easily because he could kind of see all the steps, how they fit together. So that's cool. So we have that on the generate comments. And then the description, so actually generating the description for the rule. Um, that looks really useful too. Does this stuff uh, tie into sort of what we're doing with agentic workflows and things like that down the road?
Yes, it does. Very good question, Tim. So yeah, like we will extend this towards our like future like studio AI assistant features. So we already have like some, I would say, initial versions of that in
Mm.
called knowledge assistant. But yeah, you can imagine that that will be extended, and all the rules that we use in the Launchpad will be enhanced using that. So you could explain it further, you could create, edit. So those are in pipeline. Apart from that, also this description is very, very useful as for the runtime agent. Like say you want to do the agentic workflow, and you would need that agent to call the right tool. In this case, like in Launchpad, we call like action tools and knowledge tools. So these are the latest feature that got introduced, and the agent would work very well if the description of the tool is matching with what you want to do. So what very well you can do as provider developer, just figure out the description from here, use the AI to generate it, and then use that in the description of your action tool, because that's the same thing that you're using. And 100% certainty agent our agent would be able to call that tool very well. So I think yeah, that's like obviously will be there, and yeah, in future we'll integrate this experience a little more inherently, so that you don't need to maybe click it again and again.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great starting point to be able to sort of generate these as needed. But yeah, I can see where we'd be headed, where it just sort of naturally generates these things as you're building out your rules. No, this is awesome. Okay, and is there anything you kind of want to highlight that's coming in this general area as well? I know you mentioned that we're going to kind of provide this with other rule types as well, which will be awesome. Is there anything else kind of coming down related to this?
Yeah, so I think yeah, as you said, like
Mm,
extending this feature to other rule types. So imagine like we started with automation, which is like the most complex one. So we could extend it where like we see more users are happening. So some of those areas we will start like introducing this feature,
okay.
as well as like yeah, as we touched upon a little bit, like yeah, enhancing some more studio AI assistant features, so that like building apps becomes more and more easier based on some of these infrastructure or framework that we are setting up in the platform right now.
Right.
So these are like kind of the starting of that. Yeah, hopefully you all will use it, enjoy it, and yeah, let us know how you feel like this.
Yeah, I've definitely been using it a lot recently with my providers. So, awesome. All right, cool. Is there anything else for this one?
I think that's all. Yeah, I think some of the features that you already have in the platform, yeah, please use those, give us feedback. We are here to like enhance those.
Yep, cool. I do want to just make a shout out in the upper right, the dev assistant, the little purple star there. As you're developing a Launchpad and you have questions or you want to look at something, just click that and just ask your questions. It's hooked directly into our documentation and all our knowledge base. And it's a really useful way to sort of figure out what to do when you're working on a certain part of your application. So definitely check that out. Cool.
Certainly. Yep. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Cool. So that covered our features around a bunch of new things in Blueprint and imported Blueprint into Launchpad. We have the notifications. We now have multiple processes and stages. We have embedded data and also the new way to create a new Launchpad application directly from your blueprints, which is really cool. And we just saw that more and more Gen AI assistance for developers is being built into the product. So we can automatically generate descriptions for rules, and even each step of a rule, you'll be able to generate a comment so that it's very easy for other developers on your team to see what's going on. Or when you're looking back at stuff that you built earlier, you're able to kind of quickly see what's happening in that rule and what it's being used for. With that, I'll see if we have any questions on the line. Frank, if you have any questions you want to queue up.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Yeah, we have a few questions that have been queued up, but again, if you have any questions, the Q&A on the right-hand side of your WebEx, you can add questions and I'll keep an eye on those. One of the first ones that was asked, I think for Pratanka, was whether or not the embedded data capabilities you were showing off, does that work for single and multiple objects? So, a single page and, a list, or is it just for single?
That's a good question, Frank. Thank you for asking. I think the great thing about this is works for single as well as for multiple pages. You can configure that while you are configuring your embedded data to select whether you want it for single pages or for multiple pages. And the blueprint is going to honor that. And it's also going to be honored when you create the application out of the blueprint.
Sounds great. Yeah, I've actually just used this feature myself just yesterday, and it was quite nice to play with.
Awesome.
So next question, I'm going to switch over to Anirban. Do you have a list of other AI-related features that are either available or coming soon that help us build apps faster?
Yep, sure, Frank. So I think as Tim touched upon a little bit, the most used one, which is on the right hand side of your studio, the corner, the purple icon.
Yep.
You click on that and then you ask any question around Launchpad. You should be able to get a very good answer from that. You don't need to struggle with any documentation, searching, asking, reaching out to your provider success team for any generic question. Please try that out first, and hopefully you'll get your answer. The other ones that is very useful that we have inside the product is called Expression Assistant. So you could go to the expression or the Launchpad expression language builder and ask it to generate any common scenario that you have in your application. So the business logic that you want to generate, like you can write it in natural language, hit it, it would give you the answer. We have another feature on top of that where like you may have assume that your fellow developer have authored some expression to generate some use case. You click on explain, that is also there in that same place, so that you are confident, okay, like yeah, what they wrote is doing this, because your fellow developer may not be at the same expertise with this expression language features, so you could edit also. So I think yeah, those are the features that we have. And then yeah, like we are also adding now, like up to this we did so far, and then the recent one that we just explained, the automation comments and description. But yeah, we'll move this a little further around like generating more descriptions or generating descriptions or the summary of different rules in your application for most of the rule types that you have, starting with more complex ones, just like the we did for automation rule, so that yeah, you can explain this, you can imagine that we could explain the whole case, we can extend this on the top, like kind of think about it a little bit on the bottom up or top down way. You could explain the whole stage, what it does. So by looking at those places, you could understand the logic end to end and can dive deeper. So we are like working on those areas, so that like the application, the logic, the integration, the other areas can be explained and understood by any developer. So I think yeah, that's the area we are doing. And also like yeah, as we move forward to the like later on, so we would like to enhance more of the dev studio features, where like we will use more AI to build apps faster.
Excellent. Yep. And my experience with all these AI related enhancement tools is they get better and better every week as the models get better, but also as the the platform trains those models better. They get better every time you use them. So make sure you keep playing with them, and give us any feedback that any of you on the call may have. So our last pre-submitted question and a last call for any additional questions. This one goes back to Pritanka. Can the attachment field type that you showed in Blueprint be added to data types as well as case types, so that you can create like sort of attachment metadata objects?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have started with the case types. You can also create it for data types. You should be able to add this attachments to your data types while you are creating and defining them. Like I said, it's available for use as you are building your data model with a case type data type. It's available to you.
Yep. Excellent. All right. I think that wraps up all of our pre-submitted questions. I'll do one quick double check that there's no new ones. Nope. All right.
Cool.
Tim, back over to you to close out.
All right. Thanks, Frank. All right. And of course, if you have any other additional questions, you can contact us through launchpad.io as well. Breaking from last week from Las Vegas, we have our lightning talk that was given at Amazon's reInvent last week. It's up on our website now if you go to launchpad.io. We'll also send this information in a follow-up email for those who attended today. But definitely check it out. It really goes through how to use Launchpad to build your SaaS app and actually get it live, get some revenue running, starting with Blueprint, just like you saw today, all the way through to deploying to a subscriber and getting it up in production. Also coming up in February 12th, we have our next What's New in Launchpad webinar. So get that up on your calendars now and see what's coming after this one over the next month or so. So, and I imagine a bunch of new stuff for Blueprint as well, just like we saw today. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. Be first to know when we schedule more events. As we add more webcasts, more webinars, they'll get published on LinkedIn. You can also find those on launchpad.io under the resources and events page. And that looks like that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you at the next one.